Hi guys, hello people. Again, a night session, night shift in Buddha in this studio of mine, where tonight I really would like to finish the story of the beginning of the patriarchy, of this Sumerian sad story, and how the great conspiracy of history began 4,000 years ago. So we went back all the way to the very beginnings of this era, finding the godfather, so to speak, the mafia godfather actually, of the great conspiracy being Abraham Sargon, identical, and the first steps of the Great Coup that they or he took, which we have numbered already as the social religious coup, the narrative coup, the linguistic coup, the political coup, and the military coup. And all of this is, of course, part of the same thing. We're just analyzing it in its different aspects. And you may be sure that the great conspiracy makes no mistakes, or very rarely at least. And everything is well planned out. And such a coup is also very well planned out, of course, with always with elements of surprise, but it's a very well structured coup. That's why it works. Just like power, holding power in the same occult hands works well, because it's very well structured. It's structured actually according to the original laws, the original holy sacral structures. That's what we call a cult. And this is a huge aspect, actually maybe the most key aspect of the Great Coup, the occult, because somehow it's always about the occult side that's the ultimate goal behind all of the shit stirring of history, and the rush for money and wealth. That's not really the thing. The real thing, as we could say, at the top of the food chain, there is the occult, unquenchable thirst, actually, of the hungry soul, of the thirsty soul, the hunger and thirst for light and energy, because it's ultimately, as we said, the golem of Semitism, let's say, and also Indo-Europeanism now, because it's the same virus program, different variants of it, but the same kinds of state formations and politics. I'm lost again in the labyrinth of my own thoughts. So, where was I? Semitism. Okay, I have to begin. Hi, I'm back. So I was lost in my thoughts about Semitism, and the original thought was the hungry and thirsty soul, and that's behind the occult hunger and thirst of everything, basically. The rush for power, the insanity and obsession with power. And it's actually the occult understanding of power is actually wrong. Power cannot come from outside. The only sustainable power comes from within, and this is the secret of the Mago, of course, and all magical not just ritualism and let's say dogma, but the magical mentality and way of being, which was once shared by all peoples of the world, which is the only sustainable and only universally compatible way of being. The true Semitism, which means, according to the Mago, which the so-called Semitic movement of Abraham Sargon actually left. So just to give you an example, we shall see many occult events and stuff later on, and we already have already in the Middle Ages, in our Renaissance story, we got already a whiff of the occult, drive behind politics, and not just drive, but actually methods behind and in European and world politics. We saw the Renaissance story, and now we're seeing the ancient story, the Sumerian story, and clearly it's in Sumeria that black magic begins, exactly with the forefather of all patriarchs, of patriarchy, the godfather of patriarchy, who is Abraham Sargon. This is where the seed of black magic is planted in history, in time, space, because this is the first really black magical, deceptive figure of history, and he's truly deceptive. Abraham Sargon, his figure and motives completely forged. This is the thing. So you can imagine, if the figurehead of the system is completely forged and false, then the whole system will be such. And indeed, the whole system of the Great Conspiracy is such, and that's why by now the whole of world politics is such. It's entirely deceptive. It's entirely deceptive and full of intrigue and corruption, and of course, lying, cheating, stealing, right? It's the unholy trinity. That's what it's all about. And here we're looking at the very source of all of this darkness within one figure, and what happens in his head and around him. This is the eye of the storm. So if we want to solve patriarchy, which we really, really do, we need to, cure patriarchy and get out of it. Begin a whole new paradigm beyond patriarchy, through the linguistic, very necessary revolution. It has to be a linguistic revolution. Reform, yes, but this reform should be so radical that it should be a linguistic revolution, to take the gender out of language, and so on. But there's also, it's not actually that simple. To take patriarchy out of our psyche, obviously, is going to take more, and we're not going to be able to spare ourselves the efforts to shed this thick skin, this kind of heartlessness of patriarchy. Somehow patriarchy is based on a heartless, egomania, and superiority, inferiority complex. We need to grow out of this. We need to grow out of our lower ego, which can be stuck in gender. But how childish. I mean, how childish the whole ego business, but especially the gender, to really be stuck in your gender. It's like being stuck in your race, It's kind of low level. I mean, there is something for, not nationalism, but national pride. It's very important. It's very important to know what race and what country and what religion and all of that, like the specifications. But ultimately, you are a soul. And a human soul in this life. And we have to fulfill the tasks of the human soul. And killing each other and subjugating each other is definitely not part of the roles of the human soul. I mean, obviously there's something to learn from this whole patriarchy business. And let's do that. But we need to end the patriarchy story. Even I'm so tired of it now, and I hope this is going to be the last session, at least for this era that we're tackling in Mago 2, where we talk about the oppressive system appearing. And so, just to give you a very vivid and good example of the occult of patriarchy, is I will give you 3 words, 3 Hungarian words, which are ancient words, actually. You can find them in other languages and other parts of the world. That's the point. So these are like global words that I'm going to mention to you, and how their meaning was transformed by basically the Vatican, but the Vatican is like direct connection with the Old Testament. So right, it's the same guys, and actually when patriarchy and Abraham Sargon appeared, these notions appeared on the scene. So the 3 words. The 3 Hungarian words are rossz, bűn, and halál. These are like the 3 major bad things that are in our psyche. Rossz is bad. Bűn is sin, and halál is death. But of course we know that Hungarian is an ancient language, so one wonders, like, did we always have these words? And actually, other languages come to our aid, because rossz, which came to mean bad, you can find this word in almost all of the languages as rose, or rosso, red. Red and rose, these are the meanings, and obviously this is the ancient meaning of rossz, or rose. And the meaning got transformed into bad in Hungarian, so that, the memory that this word contained something positive and something actually key, because the rose, both the rose and the color red, are cultic notions, necessary cultic notions. You might say alchemical even. So these were transformed in the Hungarian language by very conscious, malevolent forces behind. So rossz, meaning bad, and indeed bad appeared. It's verbal magic. What you say, like negative mantras, you manifest them. Just as the good, you manifest the bad. So rossz, bad, was manifested. The second word is bűn, which has come to mean sin. But we know that the bűn is the Buddhist, it's the original Buddhist, Tibetan, like pre-Buddhist Buddhist. It's like pre-Christian Christian, you know what I mean? So the ancient Tibetan religion is still called bön. And indeed, the Hungarian ancient religion has very much a lot to do with the ancient Tibetan and other like proto-Buddhist Buddhism. As you can see, I'm sitting in my apartment in Buda, so not to go too far. So boon, which has come to mean sin. So after bad, the notion of sin was kind of implemented into the psyche, into the minds, the psyche and the actions of the people. Here we're talking about the Hungarian language, but this is only an example, not a symbol. It's an example of how the black magic takes place, and it takes place in all languages, in your language, my language, all languages. This kind of black magical meddling has happened consciously. It's conscious evil forces that try to, force negativity into our world, into our originally positive world. So, and the third word is halal, which is the ultimate bad. It means death in Hungarian. But thank God in Arabic, we still have the word halal, and it means kind of the ultimate good. It's like kosher, when something is like, yeah, right, it's good, it's good. It's like according to the higher laws, like a connection between God and humanity. And the word has come to mean death. And death conscience, it's very well known fact that whatever it's like with God, whatever you think about it, it is for you. And, our fear of death entered the human psyche exactly at this point with the patriarchal coup. And fear of death goes hand in hand with fear of punishment and fear of truth. So exactly this is when lies and cheating and forgery and like hiding motives appeared in history with Abraham Sargon. So this was just a little gem of a thought about the occult behind all of this, and the occult still being the main number one driving force behind the great conspiracy that lasts until today. From Abraham Sargon until today, it's a 4,000 year time span, and in this little episode I will try to tackle the time span between Abraham Sargon and more or less the appearance of Jesus, or at least the situation into which Jesus was to step into, and that cannot be understood unless we understand the 2,000 years between Abraham Sargon and Jesus. So we've already tackled the first few aspects of the coup. I'm not going to repeat it. The only thing I will show you again, which I have already previously perhaps, is just to make sure that you get the lineage down, that the parallel lineage between Abraham's story and Sargon's story, which then they seem to diverge into the Hebrew, the Jewish tradition, and the Persian. They seem to be one and the same. They really seem to be not only parallel, but one and the same, and it really starts making sense when you identify these two traditions, like King Sargon being the same as Abraham. His son King Rimush then becomes identical with Isaac, and then and then his older bro, Isaac's older bro, and then his son, and then who's Naram-Sin. So Naram-Sin is like a particularly vicious king to come, who is the grandson of Abraham Sargon, and his counterpart is Jacob. And question is, are they identical? Very likely, yeah. And Naram Sin, these are depictions of Naram Sin, you know, being like an arrogant, bloody-handed bastard, obviously. And then if he's identical with Jacob, well, what does that say? Naram Sin was the first king in history to declare himself God. Forgery begins. Right, so what we're talking about is really serious stuff. We've seen the first genocide already by these guys, and it became a systematic thing to obliterate the enemy. It's a very, very simple way. And so club law, obviously, enters, and the right of the stronger, the bigger fist, you know. So yeah, number 6, coup number 6, the 6th aspect of the coup is administrative. So Sumeria is erased from the map, and the Akkadian Empire appears on the map of history. Akkadian official holding an axe, very nice. Yeah, so the administrative coup, obviously we're talking about taxation as well, so they're taxing all of the territories, and of course, like before even taxing, you know, all the wealth of Sumeria goes to these guys. I mean, they just take it all, and the wealth of Sumeria is grand. It's unthinkable. Okay, number 3, Hammurabi Moses breaks the law. So this is the second big like identification between two people who were categorically separated by the Chronicles, Hammurabi and Moses. But if you think about it, they did exactly the same thing. They brought on the bad laws, the negative laws that didn't bring any good to the people. And this I call the Semitic moral, legal, political coup, which is the 7th. Coup number 7, moral, legal, political. But here, like, of course, the legal is key. And you know, while you are taught to believe that Hammurabi and Moses and or gave us the first laws in history, which is, you know, it's like it's just like you have to laugh because it's ridiculous. They brought the first bad laws, but before there was like a legal system, not one, not two, you know, all over, everywhere. Of course, like for example, in Sumeria, the Sumerian king Ur-Nammu, who is said to have been a king giving good laws to the people. Not said to have been, but actually we know his laws. They exist on tablets. He was in the 22nd, 21st century BC, of the 3rd and last dynasty of Ur. His good and just codified laws preceded the bad and unjust codified laws of Semitic Hammurabi and Moses, but he disappeared in the oblivion of manipulated super-narratives. Yeah, right. So, enter Hammurabi, Moses. And we're looking at only Hammurabi here, but please do superimpose, juxtapose, and identify. So here's the stela, which tells you that Hammurabi, it's a black rock thing. It's like it's like a big phallic black thing, the law book or the law stela of Hammurabi. And he is given the laws by, here standing is Hammurabi, obviously, and sitting is Shamash, the sun god of the Sumerians, as if Shamash, the sun god, Semesh also, Shamash, Semesh, it means with I, which also, could be translated or transliterated into Magos, which is with seed. So the seed god appears to be giving good Hammurabi the laws. But actually, in fact, this is exactly the opposite of the truth, because what Hammurabi, Moses, did was he changed the laws from good to bad, broke the law. Yes, I mean the number one idea in the book of or the laws of Hammurabi is the Talio principle. But I mean, it's ridiculous to call it even principle. This is the so-called principle of an eye for an eye, which is the legitimization of revenge. And all it does, the only thing it does, is it justifies endless killing. Just an endless chain of killing. This is basically a program for killing until all eternity, never-ending slaying of one another. This is what it is. Thank you, Hammurabi, really. So he lies that he got the laws from God. And it's obviously from here on, political power is clearly fully illegitimate. Yeah? And like the black stela of Hammurabi, it's very much like the black magic of Akkad. There's a really interesting book about they say Chaldean magic, but it has to be more specific. It's actually turning the Magos, the magical, the seed-based original magic system, and like ultimately good and positive thinking and being, and of course rituals, turning that into negative. And this is when curses appear. Curses appear in the Akkadian Empire, like proper systematic curses. You read them and you wonder, like, where does all this darkness come from? It's like, the prayer might say, oh God, like, protect us from all the evil, from the vicious, from our enemies, and then they go on into the details, like, protect us from what? And of course it's all negative thinking. It's just like the laws of Moses, don't do this, don't do that, but you're actually programming that thing that you say don't do. I even know from, like, it's a personal story. When my daughter was little and she went to, like this Christian, afternoon school, and then they learned the 10 Commandments of Moses, and of course, don't fornicate. It's like, what does that mean, Mama? And then it's like, you have to go into it. She's like, why don't kill? And then, they think, and we start thinking, like, what is it to kill? Don't do what? And of course, the human mind is like curious. So if they tell you not to do that, you're definitely going to do that, or at least you're going to be interested. So this is really negative programming, and it's conscious. This is what black magic is. So here, this is when curses appear. Okay, number 4, the first great puppet empires, Assyria and Persia. The second Semitic empire is the Assyrian Empire. So after the Akkadian, it transforms into Assyrian Empire. And this goes on from the 10th to the 7th centuries BC. And here, the tradition and cult of angry men and an angry god is already in full bloom. You know, these angry guys, like really militant, violent guys. Assyrian man out to kill. Men of the patriarchs, those are the godfathers themselves. The godfathers themselves also out to kill, leading the program. So this is like the really like bloody centuries, just creating super bad karma. And of course these gigantic military states come into existence. They're new kind of beasts, new creatures, basically of the same bestial movement, the Great Conspiracy, right? Which we call colonial patriarchy. And these are all colonial patriarchies. So after the Akkadian, there's the Assyrian. Assyrian king, very angry man, king Ashurbanipal. Ancient Assyria, lion hunting was considered the sport of kings, symbolic of the ruling monarch's duty to protect and fight for his people. Right. I mean, it's really crazy, all the lion killing, and you wonder, it's not just the violence, it's also like some occult mania with killing the lions. The Sumerian lion, which is the Magura, that's what it is in Sumerian, Magura, and we've talked about the Magura and what it means. You know, it's the Magura is a force field. It's one of the key notions of the magical thinking. So Assyrian king Ashurbanipal, is he identical with King David then? Because what they did is quite similar. Yeah. And then you get these really outrageously vicious, violent scenes on the reliefs. Relief depicting tongue removal and live flaying of Elamite chiefs after the Battle of Ulay. You know, like this kind of insane genocide, violence, slaughter was not invented nowadays. It goes way back. Relief depicting Ashurbanipal in a chariot inspecting booty and prisoners from Babylon. Yeah, I mean, it's real stuff. Babylonian prisoners under Assyrian guard, reign of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, etc. Relief depicting the Assyrians besieging Elamite city of, yes, destroying Hamanu. Assyrian soldiers topple pickaxes and crowbars and carry off the spoils. Palace showing Assyrians fighting, pursuing Arabs on camelbacks. What? Palace fighting, and then relief from Ashurbanipal's palace depicting corpses floating down the river. And here I put this cute little Sumerian face going, what? Like, what is going on? What just came into being? What happened since the 25th or 22nd century BC in Sumeria? Okay, this is beautiful. This is like so occult. How the super patriarchal, you can see like the aggression and the violence in this figure. Stole the watch. This is the mug. This is the seed. This is our mug, guys. And it was stolen like stolen time by the angry man of an angry god. Okay, third Semitic empire was the Persian Achaemenid Empire, 7th century to 330 BC. So the Persian is the third after the Akkadian, then the Assyrian, and then the Persian is basically a transformation. It's the same exact lineage, same exact idea, same line of coup. It's the same coup, same patriarchal coup. So the Persian Empire rises. Soldiers, robots of a mechanical empire. right? This is what we call Persian Empire. There, the aggressive guys, club law, Persian soldiers, annex of Canaan, total genocide. Lovely. Angry creatures fighting on the Persian cylinder steel, winged symbol of the new cult. Yeah, like occult symbols, previous Sumerian ones, were stolen and kind of transformed into angry creatures. And power symbols used by the new power guys, by the mafia. As you can see, I juxtapose it here with the previous one, Sumerian depiction of a good man, and one might assume that this could even be somebody like, you know, the proto-Abraham, the good Abraham, or Abram, you know, Abram, which has a meaning in Hungarian, which means my face, my picture. Maybe, like, you know, it's the original version of God's man, the man of God, what a man should really be like. Not aggressive asshole like here, but a good man. What is a good man? And the Sumerians knew, and then after the Semitic guys forgot about that, actually buried their own, you know, good forefathers, you know, the good model. They started following a bad model. So one might assume that thus these bad guys of the bad patriarchy, bad mafia guys, they became unfaithful to their original good forefathers and good tradition of how to be a good man. If you're just focusing on your manhood, but how to just be a good person ultimately. Okay, the Achaemenid Empire and its greatest territorial extent. So, under the rule of Darius the Great, right? This is 6th to 5th century BC. Darius already, like, look at the yellow. The empire was huge, massive, you know, having started from just a little bad seed in Mesopotamia, it became huge by now. So within like 1,500 years, the empire grew that huge. And we're talking about the same exact empire, the Semitic Empire. Okay, the Magi. Magophonia, this is a crazy story. Slaughter of the Magi by King Darius in 522 BC on September 29th. Very important date. In fact, his reign began with the Magophonia, so he kills the Magi, Darius. Like, what an occult, crazy, ritualistic, murderous thing to do. And why isn't there any Hollywood film about this? Like, why don't we even know about it? You know, Magophonia, slaughtering the Magi by King Darius. Just put it together, you know. Semitic anti-Magi, Magur rage. Yeah. You know, it's like the so-called Semitic rage against the original seed and its system and its keepers and all traces. Yeah, okay. Darius, hunting in a chariot, reading, I am Darius, the great king, in Old Persian. So, you know what we're talking about, it's this egomania. Yeah, Darius, seeming to be benevolent, respectful, honest, pure of intentions, noble. This is like, you know, a very good press. This tradition of actually like making your own press and PR began already, like here. Systematically anti-Semite, disguised as Semite, and so on. Devastation. Yeah, he broke the law, selling himself as bringer of unity, restorer of order, as usual. Okay, coup number 9 is the financial economic one. Here's the coin of Darius. Golden coin. And then one might wonder, isn't Darius the same as King Solomon, you know, with all the hype and gold, obviously. So they identify just like the guys before, you know, they really overlap and it's easy to identify them. Tomb of Darius, Darius vase, a volume of annual tribute per district in the Achaemenid Empire. Unity indeed, united slaves of the empire. United slaves of the empire. So empire is not just like, you know, it's a ton of money coming in. Expansion process of the Achaemenid Empire, a plague spreading. Yeah. Scythian campaign of Darius I, map of Achaemenid imperial satraps, eastern border, the Indus River with Magadha. Very interesting, all this Mag stuff all over the world, and definitely all over Indo-Europe. Achaemenid tax collector, so tons of money rolling in to the godfathers. Persepolis, Persian and Median soldiers, war, paradigm of war. Yeah, Achaemenid king killing a Greek hoplite around 500 BC. Yeah, at the time of Xerxes I. Armored cavalry, Achaemenid, okay. Persian soldiers fighting against Scythians, cylinder seal. So you know that the Scythians are the good guys. Yeah, Persepolis, yeah, this is so typical. Gate of Nations in Persepolis, the capital of the Persian colonial patriarchal state. This is where the hypocrisy and the megalomania begins. Gate of Nations. Yeah, right, the downtrodden nations, you mean? Okay, Darius the Great is like completely megalomaniac. Then the cuneiform letters, which are kind of aggressive, right? Aggressive version of the Hebrew alphabet. Persepolis, Palace of Darius, Persepolis, and the Temple of Solomon. Aren't they similar? Yeah. Symbol of Persia. Yeah, clearly derives, symbol of Persia clearly derives from Ishtar. Yeah, Ishtar. Yes, and then Nebuchadnezzar, Greco-Persian wars. So the disease is spreading into Europe now already. The fourth Semitic empire is the Neo-Persian Sassanid dynasty in the 3rd century. Semitic Achaemenid Persian empire is huge. And then what we see appearing for a while is a non-Semitic empire, which is the Parthian. Here, right in the middle of everything. And for 400 years, the Parthian Empire was actually a challenger of the Persian Empire, and then a challenger of the Roman Empire. Also, the Roman Empire, after Alexander, right? The Roman Empire becomes this huge, basically the first, for Europe, it was the first monster empire, which really raped the people with language, with religion, with I mean everything, you know, of course, taxation too, and further bloodshed. So the Parthian Empire versus the Roman Empire, and actually the Parthian and the whole Scythian tradition versus the growing Semitic plague. This is a big question, and I am not going to go further into the Scythian question, but we will look into it later. Not in Mago 2. Here we will end with the Roman Empire appearing, and already around like 500 BC, the Roman Empire was obliterating the Etruscan ancient culture, which Etruscan is identical. It's related to Sumerian as well as Magyar, Hungarian, and all the Scythian, so-called Celtic, Celtic also. These cultures are actually one single civilization, and it proves to be a global civilization. So the original inhabitants, the indigenous nation of let's say even just the Italy of today, which was the basis of the Roman Empire, let's say already around like 500 BC, but definitely in the time of Jesus. So that was already trampled, like obliterated, just like the Sumerians were obliterated and erased in Sumeria. Then as the patriarchal empire spreads, as the Great Conspiracy spreads from Mesopotamia towards Europe, and then crossing over into Europe, and then moving further west, and finally devouring even the westernmost point of Europe, which is the Great Britain of today, which used to be inhabited also by Celtic, Scythian people, and their ancient culture, our was crushed and raped, as we've already said, but very majorly by a language system, the language system that was brought by the Roman Empire in this case. So you only understand the figure of Jesus once you understand this great battle between the good tradition and the bad, and once you understand that he must have risen not from the Semitic Empire, not from that tradition, but from the opposing one, the magical tradition. He must have risen must have grown from the non-Semitic tradition, which at this time was the Parthian tradition, and indeed many, many, many pieces of evidence, signs point to the fact that Jesus was Parthian, by no means Semite. Actually, truly Semite, because it's the mag, the magical, the original magical Magyar, Magyari, Magos, the seed-based culture and mentality and language and religion and spirituality and way of being and moral system, because the mag, the seed, contains a moral system, and Jesus, among others, was bringing this ancient and forever eternally current and living law of life, which is the seed, which was being broken by the patriarchal monster empires that we're observing as they're spreading from Sargon, Abraham Sargon, from Mesopotamia towards the west. And it's also spreading towards the east, but we're not going to look into that now. So here we leave this great beast of the conspiracy to rest for a while, and let us also rest and digest all of these crazy realizations when you put together the extent and the weight of the conspiracy of so many thousand years and so many twists and turns of deception that we've been subjected to. But maybe let us also just enjoy the fact that we have so much to realize and so much to find. And the thrill of realization and finding and putting together is ours. So let me share this joy with you. Thank you very much. Peace. Bye.